What's up, Amazon sellers? If you are thinking about getting a warehouse in 2022, then wait no further. This is the video you want to be watching to learn about all the things you should be considering. I'm here with none other than Kev Blackburn, who has helped many other Amazon sellers successfully get their own warehouse, and he's going to share the top tips and tricks that you need to be thinking about. Stay tuned. Okay, so today we are here to, should we say, learn from Kev about getting started with a warehouse and when's the right time and the things you need to consider. So Kev, first things first, thank you so much for inviting me and taking time out of your busy Q4. I know right now is like the worst time to have me, but if anyone doesn't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Yeah, just a quick introduction. Kev Blackburn. We started our business in 2015, so we're in our 7th Q4 now, and we ended up quitting our careers. I was an electrical engineer, and we ended up moving into our first warehouse, 2,000 square foot warehouse in 2016, which we was there for 4 years. And then in 2020, last year, we moved into this 10,000 square foot warehouse. And throughout this period of time, had the pleasure of working with amazing amounts of people within our community, Amazon sellers. And I've seen so much experience of people getting started, scaling their business, looking at getting into a warehouse. Warehouses is for some people, not for other people, and I've got some great experience there. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a short period of time.
Fantastic, and I know obviously this is the second year I've met you, so thank you so much for having me, and obviously it's great to see that next year.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Tom. It's fantastic to have you here.
So today what I want to just talk about really is, first things first, is a little bit of history about you in regards to what you're doing now, and also those people who have maybe, should we say, gone on to get their own warehouses around that. And then what I'd like to do is talk about what you've learned from that in regards to seeing other people get their own warehouses, and obviously your own experience as well. Mm-hmm. And then we'll kind of summarize that into a very clear, concise message that if anyone is thinking about getting a warehouse, they can really take away and have some key action points.
Absolutely.
So just starting off, tell me, obviously right now, you run a fulfillment center. You've got lots of clients, and I've seen it. It's 10,000 square foot. I mean, this thing is full. Like literally, last year it was full. This year it's like super full. But tell me a bit about like that journey and some examples of like clients who've maybe used your fulfillment center and now gone on to do their own warehouse.
Yeah, I think from fundamentally, we're building Amazon businesses, e-commerce businesses, and you're processing volume of products. So at some point, as you're scaling your business, you've got to think about like, what am I going to do long term? Am I going to just stay within a prep service, or do I actually want to go out into my own warehouse? Because I think that's a really, really important thing that you've got to decide on, because the two different paths, and they mean a lot of different things for your lives. So for those that are not interested in warehouses at all, then obviously a prep service is the way to go. But some people genuinely want to go into a warehouse. I was one of those people. I love everything to do with warehouses. I love systemizing the warehouse. I love building the team. I love being able to process products from inbound to outbound. So I think first of all, it's deciding, okay, if I want to go to a warehouse. And then there's a number of things that you've got to consider. Obviously, if you're going to go to a warehouse, your business and your operations needs to be at a certain level. At that point, you're no longer a beginner. You are experienced, you know what you're doing, whether it's your online arbitrage business, you've gone into wholesale, maybe you're still doing retail arbitrage, whatever it might be, you're no longer a beginner at this point. You know what you're doing. You've maybe started to build a virtual assistant team. You're really starting to ramp up. Then depending on where you're at in terms of your location, down south, it's going to cost you a little bit more. Up north, where we live, warehouse costs are a lot more affordable. So in terms of at what point do you go into a warehouse, one of the things that I've always said, that a prep service can be that stepping stone. It can be the stepping stone of using a prep service, scaling your business, and then when it actually makes sense and that you can actually afford a warehouse, you can actually transition them from a prep service into your own warehouse. And we now have 9 what I would call our warehouse legends. We're actually just designing our plaques where they're going to be stuck on the wall. We're going to be remembering them forever, who have joined us. They've been with us and we've supported them to scale their business, and then they've transitioned into a warehouse. So really, you've got to, if you're already thinking you want to go into a warehouse, I would start looking for an actual warehouse to get yourself a bit of an idea of like, what do the warehouse costs involved? There's many different types of warehouses. There is what I would call like, you can get units that are like boxed rooms with lots of different rooms in the warehouse, or you can have like a warehouse that's got like a big open space. This 10,000 square foot warehouse, obviously we've got lots of offices, but then we've got the big space too. So you want to start getting an idea of what does the warehouse actually look like? What sort of size are you looking for? I would recommend for you not to get too small of a warehouse, because it's amazing on how quickly you can fill it. So you could go through the process of finding a warehouse, going through all the contracts, the leases, and you've only got maybe 500 square foot, and then you've outgrown it within a couple of months. Do you see what I mean? And then you've got a bottleneck in like you haven't got enough space. So our first warehouse was 2,000 square foot, which allowed us, it was very, very big when we went from our living room into that warehouse, but it actually gave us some expansion.
Was that the one that I saw, may I ask? The one you were in before?
Yes, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Obviously, you filled that up really quick. I remember going there. That was incredible. So thank you so much. There's so much in there, and I just want to kind of break it down. I think you talked about it using like a prep service, and I'll just talk from my own experience. Running an Amazon business, or running any business, my God, there's so many parts to it. You're finding products, selling products, people, logistics, everything. And my personal opinion on it is that by outsourcing the prep side is just another problem I don't have to deal with. I can deal with that someone else. And as we scale the rest of the business, that gets scaled for me and I don't need to worry. So I personally really love prep centers, and hence why I live in Mexico. I couldn't do it without that. But I do really understand the value of it. And a lot of people might be like from the house straight into a warehouse, or should we say like a unit, for example, and there are pros and cons to both methods. But the question I really want to ask you just to start off with is, obviously you talked about your Hall of Fame of 9, the legends, and you said there's a time, or there's a time when it's right to move out, and obviously those 9, they had that should we say, time that was right for them. Is there any kind of commonality that you see with them? It might be like number of units, it might be, I don't know, revenue size. Is there anything you've seen across those 9 that might be actually like, these are the kind of metrics people are considering when they transition out? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, so one of a number of considerations that you have to have when you are thinking about a warehouse is it's not just the warehouse. You've got the utilities of the warehouse. You're now going in the realms of you want to employ staff. So there's many more costs that are involved. So when you are just getting started and you want to scale, if you are maybe only shipping hundreds of units, then it's not going to be profitable for you. You're not going to be able to afford, your business isn't ready for a warehouse, because all of a sudden you've got much more costs, you've got staff to employ, there's a lot more involved. So in terms of actually scaling your business, every single one of our partners, we're now talking into the shipping thousands of units. Okay, so they have.
Is that thousands like a month, thousands a year?
Yeah, thousands in a month,
okay.
Right? So we're now talking the realms of thousands. We've had some partners that have shipped 10, 15,000 units, and then they've wanted to go into their own warehouse operations. So I think obviously it's subjective, because it depends on what you sell. It depends on what the profitability of those products are. Somebody could sell 1,000 products, but if you're selling real high-end products, you could have the profitability there straight away. Some people maybe sell wholesale, much more lower value products, so you've got to go through much more volume. So it's really subjective based on what you're actually selling, Tom. But a common thing is you're now in the realms of shipping thousands per month. In terms of revenue, we've worked with partners that, they're all 6-figure sellers, 7-figure sellers, and ultimately for them, they wanted to get into a warehouse in the first place. We've also had partners that have been with us for the last 4.5 years, and they're like you. They have no intention of going into their own warehouse at all. So I think it's really, really key, because you're now in the realms of you're actually an employer in the UK or the US, depending on where you're at. You're now in the realms of you've got interviews, you've got applications, you've got onboarding processes, you've got staff contracts. you've got health and safety, you've got to look after the well-being of your staff, you've got illnesses, punctuality, you've got all the common things that you would need as an employer now, as well as like pensions, and there's so much involved, and that is the world that you're going in if you're going to go into a warehouse. As you know, based on you've walked around, you've seen all our team. It takes a lot. They're not just here shipping products all the time. There's a lot more involved in that. There's the training. There is the one-to-ones. There is the appraisals. There's so much more involved. That's why I love it. It's so rich.
Oh my God. It's really interesting because, hey, my business, I think, I looked not the other day, but a couple of months ago, and we were doing like 10,000 units a month. I was like, oh, cool, I'm in a place where we can do it. I'm never going to do it, by the way, ever. But the interesting thing is when I think about business, it's, scaling the business, finding more products to buy, shipping, working with suppliers, but also as well, that all takes time. And then, I'll get a warehouse, that's fine. And now you talk about like people, you're now an employer, you've got to work with like the local council, you've got to make sure you do your risk assessments, you've got to like do your appraisals, holiday forms, also your operations, and the one thing I'll say is when I came here last year, your warehouse is the other way around. Mm-hmm. You've changed it, and that takes effort to improve efficiencies. And it sounds like one hell of a lot of work. And that's in addition to obviously trying to continue to build a very scaling or growing business as well. So when you talk about, there are a lot of variables of when. You talk about like thousands of units, 6 figures, 7 figures. I think also as well, another variable is time. When you come into this, there's so much time you need to available because it's going to take a long time. Obviously, this is your second warehouse, is that right? Yeah. Can I ask you, how long has it taken you to get this? Let's do two things. Number one, how long did it take you to set up this warehouse so it was operational? From the moment you got the keys to the moment it was actually like stocks going out the door, how much time did that take and how many people? Let me ask that question.
Yeah, so this particular warehouse was a bit unique because we was transitioning from another warehouse. So for a period of around, when we got the keys, we were shipping within about 2 weeks.
Wow.
But we were still building. We've documented the entire process. You'll see over the months, we've been here nearly 18 months now, but there was a period of time of like three weeks or so where we were shipping from dual warehouses, the old one as well as this one, as we were starting in this warehouse and transitioning from the old warehouse to this warehouse. But it's all subjective based on if you're going from home to the warehouse, you've got to set up your warehouse so it's operational. One of the things that I highly recommend is not to go too far in the investment straight away. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go into a brand new warehouse and then all of a sudden kit out the warehouse with, office chairs and iMacs and tables and shelves and racking and spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pounds in setup, because the goal is you just got to keep shipping your products. So the reason why I say that is when we first moved into our first warehouse, for a period of time, because we went from home, we were shipping off floors, right? We had desks, but we were able to box on the floor. We were able to process on the floor. It took time to actually invest in the shelving and create our processing tables. And that takes time because you just want to be shipping. And then every month you can keep building as you're making your money. Over the years, we've invested much more. We've got streams, we've got cameras, we've got racking, we've got shelving, we've got everything that you see now, but that does take time. So the point I'm trying to make is don't do it all at once. Take your time. If it's affordable to you and you've got the capital, then of course, but don't do too much at once.
Interesting. You talked about it took like 2 weeks. My God, you've really got experience and you are Mr. Systemization operations. You know what you're doing. I'm sure that was planned out for months in advance. But not only that, it's the fact that you were trading, obviously dual trading for 3 weeks, but then also you've got a team. It's not just you. You've got a big staff pool here. I'm sure they're helping you out doing a lot of work.
It wouldn't be possible without staff.
No, I agree.
Without your team. That's what it's fundamentally. There's two things when it comes to warehouses, in my opinion. Is number one is your team. You've got to have great teams. You've got to have great processes. You've got to have great warehouse technicians. You're now building managers. A part of our prep service, we've actually got our business development team now as well, our customer support team as well. You've got to have your team, essential. And then it's actually the processing system that you're developing, because you quite rightly alluded to it. We have switched the warehouse around. It does take time to streamline. You set your warehouse up, and I highly recommend anybody just to get a whiteboard up. Once you've decided what warehouse you're actually going into, and map out what's the flow of your products, where do your products go in, where you're going to process them, where you're going to check them in, where you're going to do your boxing, your palletization. Really just get a whiteboard out and draw it. When you do it and you actually build it, you may find this don't actually work, so you switch, and then you basically keep switching until you've got the most streamlined process.
Yeah, I understand. And that's about efficiency, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Driving down cost per unit for the preparation.
Absolutely.
So thank you. And there's so much to there. And you're talking about time. We're talking about, oh my God, investment. Racking iMacs. So you don't do that straight away. But also, you're signing into lease agreements. There's so much to think about. Staff. And managing staff is a whole problem in itself. And I'm not saying problem, but it's like it takes time to learn how to manage staff correctly, and that's taken a long time. And I know that from my own experience as well. So there's a lot to consider. Now I know obviously for yourself, here where we are right now, this is a prep center. It does a lot of preparation for a lot of people, in the Amazon business, but also externally as well. And obviously you mentioned about it. You have the legends of the 9 legends. And the one reason why I'm asking this question or this video now is because while we were talking, one thing that you did with those 9, which I think is a fantastic thing, was to help them transition from your service into their own warehouse. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what do you help them with? What do you do? And what kind of things do they consider?
So to me, it's fundamentally a part of a prep service. Shipping products is only one, it is a major aspect, but it's not the one sole aspect. You can still fail in your business. If all you're concentrating is shipping, it doesn't necessarily equal success. So one of the things that's been really, really important to me personally, because I just love to work with people just like you, is trying to support our partners in other areas of their business, whether that's business development through understanding what their goals are, where is it that they're trying to go, business strategy plans. I've obviously got lots of different trainings over the years and different YouTube videos and different programs, etc. So really making that around them as they grow. So throughout this process, I've obviously learned a lot about viewing warehouses, staff contracts, pensions, how to interview people, systemizing the actual warehouse, what equipment to use, what trolleys to purchase. I've gone through so many different trolleys, different styles of trolleys, and I've gone through lots of equipment. So what I essentially do, it's completely optional. I always say it to all our partners, is as you're transitioning into the warehouse, is I've created like what I call our warehouse support package, which is basically like a big PDF with all my experience over the last 6 years. Everything from, what does your warehouse team look like, to what does an example of a staff contract look like, what equipment you would use, security, cameras, some ideas of go view multiple warehouses, get a bit of an idea and a bit of a feel for it, thinking about some of the questions or frequently asked questions like negotiations. Like I've got one of our inner circle members right now is talking to me about going into a warehouse, and he's coming back and forward to me about how do we go about negotiating, trying to get a deal. Like instead of they're offering like 3 months free, like how do you go about negotiating to get 6 months free? And I'm just trying to be supportive and trying to be there for our partners to make that transition as smooth as possible.
Wow, that's amazing. I think what's interesting is the fact that you talk about like which trolley to buy, and I know that I go and buy like camera equipment, and I buy something and it's the wrong one, and you spend so much money figuring out which one's the right one. And you've just got the answers, and I think that's a really nice thing that you do. Transitioning to the next thing, transitioning your partners to the next level, but also as well helping them with the knowledge that you've learned over the years. And obviously, now in this 10,000 foot warehouse, and obviously the operation's some sizable operation. So if I just kind of summarize, and I think for now, if anyone is looking at a warehouse, a couple of things to really consider. Obviously, don't go too small, you've got to be about scaling up. Also as well, one thing that I really picked up on this is like, it isn't as simple as I get a warehouse tomorrow, get started. It takes a long time to get everything done. There's a lot of effort.
It takes time to actually find a warehouse in the first place.
Get started today.
Just have a look around. Have a look around in your area. Be resourceful. Drive around into your industrial parks to see whether there's a sign up, to see if there's anything empty. Our first warehouse was found by going into an industrial park near us. It was completely empty, no sign on it. We was asking all the different businesses, and we found out where the landlord was. We went and spoke to the landlord, and we managed to get in that way. It wasn't through an estate agent. So it's about, first of all, get a bit of an idea of what type of warehouse that you'd want, have a drive around. To me, I would always recommend go view, even if you think that, okay, I might not be in a warehouse for another 12 months, 18 months. There's nothing stopping you going into, just go view some warehouses right now. Get a feel for it. Quick funny story. About 3 years ago or so, me and Kylie went and viewed a 12,000 square foot warehouse. Bearing in mind we was in a 2,000 square foot warehouse, and we remember walking around it. I've got a video on the YouTube channel and thinking, this is huge. It was like an aircraft carrier base. It was massive. And at the time I was thinking, wow, how amazing would it be to be in a 12,000 square foot? And now we're in a 10,000. And don't get me wrong, it's not 12,000, but 3 years later, now it's like coming to reality. So I'm a big believer of that. Go and visually see. Go and feel it. Go and have a look around. If anything, it'll inspire you. It'll motivate you. It will give you the energy. If that's really what you want, you can actually see what it is that you're going to do. Take a photo of it, put it around your office, and go for it.
Fantastic. So obviously we talked about start now, start looking.
Yeah.
Also, it takes time. Consideration that there's a lot to consider in it. Staff, contracts, health and safety, negotiations. There's a lot to go on.
It's very, very important from a legal point of view. Obviously, you're talking leases and things now. You don't want to rush into it. Like if reach out to maybe somebody that can give you some professional advice to look over things. Because at the end of the day, if you're putting your signature on it, you're signing that contract, you are now legally bound by this. So it's really important, especially from these leases. There's a lot of legal jargon, maybe terminology that you don't fully understand. So take your time, just view it, get some advice. And
I think the final one, which I take away, is when you do get your warehouse, don't go crazy kitting it out with IMAX. You can work off the floor, it's absolutely fine.
To me, it's about, me and Kylie over the years, it's like humble beginnings. We're proud to have been on our hands and knees. We're proud to have had, filthy hands, filthy face, and getting stuck in. And I think that's fine. I think that's a part of your unique story. And I think that's essential, because then as the years go on, you remember what you were once like, and you can be proud of that.
Yeah, I agree. Fantastic. So if anyone wants to get in contact with you, maybe see a little bit more about the warehouse, how can they do it?
The best place to go is YouTube channel. Cool. On YouTube, just search for Kev Blackburn, search for Life Success Engineer, search for Systemise Fulfilment. You'll see playlists of when we first moved in, tours around the warehouse. You'll see everything there. I try to document the journey, as you know, as much as I possibly can.
I know, fantastic. I know you've done like 1,000 videos. It's like incredible. But if anyone's watching, I will drop a link down below to all of that. So just have a look down in the description. You'll see everything to Kevin. Kev, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you for having me. I will let you get back to the Q4 madness. And obviously, hopefully, we can both warm up a little bit as well. It's far too cold in the UK in December.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.